Hi, I'm State Representative Julie Alexander, and welcome to Grown in Michigan. You know, when we think about where do we get our food, most of us, we could grow it, we could raise it, we could go to a farmer's market, but most of us just go to the grocery store and take it home. But there are many in our state that rely on a different resource, Michigan food banks. In fact, 13.7% of Michigan residents and families rely on Michigan food banks, and during the pandemic, up to 20%. Let's learn more about Michigan food banks.
Man, I sure could use a slice of that front porch swinging kind of life.
Today, I visited the Greater Lansing Food Bank headquarters in Bath, Michigan, and I met with Michelle Lance and Phil Knight. This community organization serves the Mid-Michigan region, supplying millions of meals every year to local families in Clare, Clinton, Eaton, Gratiot, Ingham, Isabella, and Shiawassee counties.
Our mission is to make sure that people are not hungry, to continue feeding. People need 3 meals a day, right? Hunger doesn't end just because somebody might have a job, because as food costs or other costs continue to increase, they may not be able to afford then the food that they need. So if we can provide that piece of their budget, they can then use that money for things like utility costs or the transportation to get to their job. So there's a lot of variables, but if we could somehow miraculously end the hunger, the plight of hunger, right, in our communities, that would be the ultimate mission, I think, of every food bank.
The need in the community has ticked up the last 8 months in a row. So from a high of as much as 30% statewide from the 7 food banks, that would make up how much USDA food comes and is distributed. Today, we're down to 8%. And so how we're making up the difference between the need in the community and the lack of resources from the USDA is we're raising money and we're buying that food ourselves. So there are 208 Feeding America food banks, and we serve every county in America. These 7 food banks serve every county in Michigan. And every one of those 208 food banks are over budget in food purchase because of the lack of food coming from the resources like the USDA.
Greater Lansing Food Bank collects food from a variety of sources. In addition to direct purchases, the food bank also receives resources from the United States Department of Agriculture. Other food comes from generous donations from our Michigan farmers, through food drives, from retailers, restaurants, and other local businesses. The food bank distributes food around the community, such as food pantries, kitchens, and shelters.
So our funding comes in from individual donors, corporate donors, lots of grants, some from the state and from the U.S. As well, grants. And so whatever we raise in money or food is what we can put out to the community. Like Phil stated, we are already above our budget for purchasing food by 25%, and we're not at the end of our fiscal year yet. So we are having to raise more money than what we originally projected for our fiscal year so that we can continue to serve members of our community. We don't want them to go hungry.
When you look at what the food banks do and what our team at the Food Bank Council, their average cost for Michigan produce is around 15 or 16 cents a pound. So we can buy it. We're really good shoppers. And we try to really take the dollars that you entrust with us and stretch those so that we can get as much food to the folks in the community as needed. And we want that to be high quality, Michigan-based food, whether it be meat protein or fresh produce or dairy, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we're giving the people what they want and need, because if we do that, we know that they're going to eat it.
My visit to the food bank allowed me to witness people meeting the needs of others, experiencing food insecurity. It was truly an encouraging experience. I hope you'll consider how you can help in your community. Donate your time, money, or food. You can find a food bank near you by visiting fbcmich.org. Together, we can alleviate hunger statewide by increasing emergency food resources to all Michigan families in need.
So as we're walking around and we see a lot of empty shelves, what does that actually mean? Because at some point you had product here, but now it's gone. Is that a good thing or a bad thing that the shelves are empty?
Yeah, so it's a little of both, right? So we try to turn our product over every couple of weeks. What we get in, we don't want to stay here. So we are working hard to get it out on our mobile food pantries where people come pick it up, or out to our pantries and agencies. However, right now, there's a lot of kind of shortage of food that's coming to us simply because the supply chain is down. It is for every industry right now, right? No matter what you're trying to get, it's hard to get. So we would normally have more product on our shelves than we do right now, but it would turn over every few weeks.
Yeah, so I think that is a really important point, that there's really not a food shortage. There is a supply chain issue. We grow plenty of food in this nation, as you well know, to feed everybody. And so what we have is challenges in transportation. We have challenges in labor force issues, like that's why we see a lot of help wanted signs everywhere. But that's also true in food processing. And so I think, again, the business model that the USDA uses probably could use a little updating so that we could get these orders filled at market price and get that food back out to the food banks as well, nationwide, not just here in Michigan. But I think it's a really important point that you bring up, that there's no need for anybody to be nervous about food supply. We grow plenty of food. It's just a supply chain issue. So don't anybody panic. Don't even worry. No run on toilet paper or green beans or any of that, right?
We're good.
Do you have a story to tell? If you or someone you know has an untold agricultural story here in Michigan, I want to hear about it. You can reach out to me at juliealexander@house.mi.gov.